The day you become the first person in your family to make real money isn't the day your life changes. It's the day everyone else's does. But before there was any money, there was a secret. And that secret cost you more sleep than the money ever gave you back. For 4 years, the light stayed on in your house because your mother knew exactly how long she could stretch a due date before they'd cut you off. You read the bills out loud to her at the kitchen table because her English was better spoken than read, and yours was better read than spoken. Between the two of you, you made one whole person who could deal with the mail. You had one real job, stocking shelves, running a register, the kind of place you'd rather not name. It covered what your dad's warehouse check didn't. And after that shift ended, you had a second life nobody in your family knew existed. 3 or 4 hours a night, sometimes till 3 a.m., hunched over a laptop with a cracked corner, building something you never called a business out loud. You'd already failed once before, publicly, and you remembered exactly what your uncle's face looked like when he asked how the app thing was going, already smirking before you answered. So this time you decided, nobody finds out until it's real. Your father worked 10 and 12-hour shifts at 58, lifting pallets his back had quietly stopped forgiving. You watched him once through a loading bay window, bracing a box against his knee, breathing through pain he never mentioned to anyone. He came out to the car 10 minutes later, smiling, asked if you'd eaten. You never told him you saw it. You still haven't. You heard your mother cry twice. Once behind a running faucet she thought hid the sound. Once at the kitchen table with the bills spread out. A quiet, leaking kind of crying that had gone on so long it had stopped being an event and just become weather. You sat beside her and said nothing because nothing true would have helped. Then, years further in than you ever thought you'd need, an email that wasn't spam. Somebody wanted to buy the whole thing. You sat with it open for 2 days before telling a soul, because things that felt too big to say out loud had a way of turning out to be nothing. The number, when the deal finally closed, was $860,000. You didn't celebrate. You sat in your car in the driveway, engine off, and watched your dad, 64 now, still working that warehouse job, on a milk crate in the garage, relacing a work boot with a shoelace because the hardware store charged too much for laces, you could just tie yourself. He had no idea what had happened 40 feet away, on your phone, in your car. You almost got out and told him. Instead, your phone buzzed. One text, heard about the sale. Call me. You read it twice. You hadn't told anyone, not your mother, not your sister. You decided right there in that driveway to sit on this a while and get your head straight before the calls started. So how did he already know? Money is the one secret that tells itself. Your dad hollered that he needed a hand with the trash cans. Not, did it close? Not, are we set now? Just trash cans. For 4 minutes, everything was still normal. Then your brother texted twice more. The last one, 3 words. Don't forget me. You remembered a night 11 years back, broke enough to hear your own fridge hum because there was nothing in it to muffle the sound. Your brother, who had almost nothing himself, drove across town in the rain and put maybe $80 into your hand and wouldn't take it back. You'll pay me back when you're rich, he'd laughed. By the weekend, everybody knew. Your mother has never kept a secret longer than a car ride. The family did what families do. They had everyone over. Lawn chairs, somebody's speaker, kids cannonballing into the same old inflatable pool. Your brother found you by the cooler, grinning, loud enough for the table. Watch it, this guy's gonna start charging us for gas money now. Everyone laughed. It felt for one warm second like the family you grew up in. Then a cousin you talked to twice a year sat beside you, half joking, all the way serious underneath. So when you're hiring for this thing, family first, right? More laughter. A joke is just how people ask for something they're too proud to ask for straight. You looked across the yard, your brother's grin had dropped. He'd wanted it to land. He hadn't been joking either. Weeks later, you saw him at a car lot, walking a truck he couldn't afford like a man who wanted to be watched walking. He wasn't buying a truck. He was buying back whatever he felt he'd lost the day your deal closed. You'd have traded every dollar of that check to get back the brother who drove through the rain with nothing. People don't resent you for having money. They resent what it makes them feel about the choices they made without it. Then he called. Soft, almost like when you were kids. And against everything you'd just seen at that lot, it worked on you. You sat at his kitchen table. He said a number, $20,000. Under that table, 11 years quietly rearranged themselves. $80 then. $20,000 now. You'll pay me back when you're rich. He wasn't asking for help. He was already collecting. You knew you should say no. You said yes, not to his plan, to his face. For a while it seemed to work. He showed up one Saturday with coffee, fixed your leaning fence for free, grinned the old rain grin. I'm paying every bit of that back. You believed him completely. That's exactly when it went. A month later, he called asking for $15,000 more. Not asking really, explaining why you'd say yes. The fence hadn't been kindness, it had been a deposit. The moment generosity has to be paid back, it stops being a gift. You told him no. Your first no to him ever. 2 days later, your mother called. Why would you do that to your own brother? He's struggling, and you have so much now. So much now, like the number had changed what you owed her. After that, it got quieter, and quieter is worse. Texts left unread, an uncle calling you big money with a laugh that had a small hook in it. And somewhere in the middle of it, your dad, who'd said nothing about any of it, showed up one week with no reason, no ask, just a rambling story about a guy he used to work with. Rinsed his mug, went home. You didn't think much of it then. You would. Thanksgiving, your brother put his fork down. Must be nice, he said, almost gentle. We lost you the day that money hit. You didn't get rich. You just stopped being one of us. Nobody defended you. Silence turned out to be its own answer. You left early. Your dad followed you to the car, said nothing about the table, just, drive safe, call your mother. Patted the roof twice, like always. That was the last easy conversation you had with him for a while. The call came 3 weeks later, a Tuesday. Hospital. Now. In that hallway, for the first time in a year, there was nothing between you and your brother. No money, no score, just two guys and a wall to lean on. Your dad was awake, smaller than you'd ever seen him. He told you something he'd never told anyone. The old family land past the county line, his own father's ground. The place he'd once wanted his ashes scattered. He'd sold it quietly the year before your business finally caught. You'd always thought your early seed money was just his savings. It was the land. It was always the land. Easier to lose a brother than sit across from a debt, he said. I wasn't going to put a number between us, so I made sure there wasn't one to find. He came home a few days later. Nothing got magically fixed. Your brother's still driving that truck. You still get the messages, and most months you still say no. A little easier now. But when your dad shows up with no reason and no ask, just a story about a guy he used to work with, you know exactly what you're looking at. Not a man who never had anything to hold over you. A man who had all of it the whole time and simply never chose to use it. If this story hit you somewhere, that's exactly why it's worth passing on. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, drop a like if you felt this one, and share it with someone who needs to hear that the quietest people in your life are often the ones caring the most for you.